As investors, we are constantly exposed to noise. Noise is everything we hear in the news and media, and it's also the unsolicited advice and opinions of others. We are constantly exposed to what other people believe we should do or what people believe will happen next. This is all in spite of the fact that those offering their opinions have no idea what our goals are with our investments. To me, it's like telling a stranger what they should order at a restaurant without considering their taste preferences, allergies, or even if they are hungry or not. But even if they did know our goals, when it comes to their opinions, how likely is it that they are correct? At the end of every year, expert analysts predict what they believe will happen in the following year. These predictions come from very smart, highly qualified, and very well compensated professionals. If there was a group of people who should be able to predict the market, these expert analysts seem to fit the bill. So how do they do? Here is a chart showing Wall Street's S&P 500 predictions for the last 25 years, from 1999 to 2023. We can see that there was only one predicted negative year, which was last year, in 2023. And here's a slide comparing the prediction to the actual return in each of those 25 years. Wall Street predicted the correct direction the market moved in 18 out of 25 years, or 72% of the time. Now remember, in an earlier lesson, historical data showed us that markets have produced a positive return 68.4% of the time. The opinions of experts provided negligible difference over historical averages. And in this case, someone guessing a positive direction every year would have been correct more often. The big surprise comes when we look at the magnitude of difference between the prediction and the reality in each year. The average difference is just over 15% annually. The predictions were never actually correct. This chart shows the accuracy of predictions within a given year. Predictions were within 10%, 44% of the time, between 10 and 20%, 28% of the time, between 20 and 30%, 16% of the time, between 30 and 40%, 8% of the time, and over 40% off, 4% of the time. If someone simply guessed that the market would be up 10% in each of the 25 years, which is the rounded historical average of the S&P 500, they would have been off an average of 14.24%. So not only would they have been more accurate with the direction of the market, but they also would have had a smaller difference between prediction and reality. At the time of filming this lesson, 2024 is not quite over, so the predictions and return isn't included in the chart we just looked at. The S&P 500 ended 2023 at a value of 4,770 points. Predictions for 2024 that were made in December of 2023 had Wall Street believing that the S&P 500 would end the year between 3,300 and 5,400 points, with the majority of predictions being around 5,100. This is higher than the November 2023 predictions, where one Forbes article is titled, "Here's where Wall Street says S&P 500 will head next year. Don't expect record highs." At the time of filming, near the end of December 2024, the S&P 500 is right around 6,000 points and has hit a new all-time high on more than 55 days in 2024, an increase of about 3 times what experts predicted it would be. What Wall Street predicted to be a pretty ordinary year turned out to be a record-breaking year, hitting valuations never seen before. In fact, if we look back at the previous 55 years, there's only been 3 years that have had more days with a new all-time high. So if you believed Wall Street's predictions and decided to sit on the sidelines for 2024, you would have missed out on one of the best years in history. And thanks to the number of days with a new all-time high record, the 2020s are right around the average set over the past 75 years, and we're only halfway through the decade. Morgan Housel maybe says it best in a blog post titled, "Never Saw It Coming." I'll link to it below in the reference notes. The first paragraph reads, "People are very good at forecasting the future, except for the surprises, which tend to be all that matter." These inaccuracies led to the New York Times publishing an article titled, "Wall Street Loves to Guess but nobody knows what the market will do in 2024. And Market Watch published an article with the subtitle, "Your Best Stock Market Advice for 2025? Pay no attention to stock market predictions, which are frequently and comically wrong." The simple truth is that nobody knows what will happen in the future. If someone did, they would be everyone's financial planner. The events that tend to matter the most, the things that impact our lives the most, are the things that no one saw coming. If we knew something was going to happen, we'd be prepared for it so it couldn't take us by surprise. We can see this point illustrated on the next slide. This chart shows how different asset classes have performed over the past 15 years. As you can see, there's little to no consistency on a year-to-year basis. It almost looks completely random. Asset classes can go from the best to the worst and vice versa in a span of a year. In the end, predictions are just guesses, and the evidence shows us that we can't give them any additional weight than that. If an expert does make an accurate guess in one year, there's no proof that it's anything more than a lucky guess, as previous or subsequent predictions are all way off. In the short term, no one knows what will happen in the markets. But in the long term, we know that markets increase in value. We know that because what we invest in makes up the companies and governments around us. A world where the market drops to zero is a world where there are no companies, there are no governments, and money has no value. A world that seems the furthest thing from possible. When it comes to market predictions, there's really only two things that we can be sure of. One, that people will continue to make them, and two, that they will continue to be wrong.